I think the Sacramento Kings have been really, really, really fun to watch. They're currently 6 out west. And I think something that's been very promising about this team's season so far is against teams with a 500 record and above, including the Raptors and the Warriors, because I still kind of count those teams as playoff teams. They are 7 for 11, so they've won 7 and lost 11 against those teams. And over those 18 games, they've scored 115 points and only let up 110. I think that's probably skewed from some blowout losses and blowout wins here and there. But that's really, really promising stuff that they can defend playoff caliber teams at a high level, and that their offense works against playoff caliber teams at a high level. Speaking about their offense, they're running some of the best offense in the league. They run the 5th best half-court offense according to Backpicks model. They run the 4th best ISO offense according to Backpicks model, and the 6th best pick and roll offense according to Backpicks model, which makes sense when you have Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox, who are 2 elite pick and roll players, and with Fox adding the 3 ball to his game this year, it's really, really opened up his offensive capabilities and made it so much more difficult to guard him in the pick and roll, because we know how fast he is. We know the type of a downhill finisher that he is and the type of creator he can be when he gets going with a head of steam. But the problem with him has always been the lack of a jump shot, the fact that you can kind of go under the screen and really sit on that jump shot and make him a jump shooter. He still is not an elite jump shooter, of course, but he's serviceable. And with all the other space on this team, it doesn't matter too much that he's not an elite shooter when you have guys like Barnes, Murray, Herter, Terrence Davis, even off the bench, to open up that space for him. And when you're running a 2-man game with Domantas Sabonis, it also makes it that much harder to really double or focus too heavy on De'Aaron Fox, because Domantas Sabonis is an elite roller to the rim. He's also an amazing short roll passer and just a very, very high level offensive player from an IQ standpoint. When you're looking at this team too, there's been a lot of pick and roll, dribble handoff with Domantas Sabonis involved in it, and I really do think Domantas Sabonis is the heart of this team. I think it's his team. I think Mike Brown has kind of talked about that on the defensive end, talking about how much of an elite defensive communicator Domantas Sabonis is, comparing him to Draymond Green, and this is Mike Brown who's coached Draymond Green, so I take that pretty literally. I don't think Domantas Sabonis is, of course, as good of a defender as Draymond Green, but I definitely think he has ways that he impacts the game on that end, and I think that shows in Domantas Sabonis' plus minus. This team is plus 11.2 points with him on the floor per 100 possessions, which means they're outscoring opposing teams by 11.2 points with some bonus on the floor. But with him off the floor, they're getting outscored by 5 points per 100 possession. And I think that kind of emulates and speaks to another problem with this team, which is their lack of rim protection, and especially lack of NBA caliber size off the bench. Chimezie Metu, Trey Lyles are okay, but I don't think they're really playoff caliber players or guys you really want being your back line if you're trying to make a playoff push. So I think that's one big problem for this team that they need to address before the trade deadline. I also think this team needs to work on their 3-point defense. They allow 20 open threes a game, which is the second most in the league. And opponents also shoot 37% from 3 against this team, which is the 6th worst, or like the 6th highest percentage in the league, which is really, really bad. They don't really have an elite point of attack defender. Davion Mitchell is definitely good, but he's still small and not an elite offensive player, so his value is limited. Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes are good wing defenders, but they're not elite. Monk, Herter, De'Aaron Fox has definitely been better, but still not elite. And when Domantas Sabonis comes out the floor, they don't really have the size, and they allow 53 points in the paint, which is the 5th worst in the league. So I think this team has very, very clear strengths, especially when it comes to the offensive end, and they have very clear weaknesses, especially when it comes to the defensive end. And that leaves you kind of in the position, I think, why a lot of people had them as a play-in team coming into this year, which is, can you be a great enough offense to make up for your lackluster defense? And I think a lot of people didn't really see that. De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis are not at least not thought of, 2 elite offensive players. They're definitely really good, but I don't think they're thought of in that elite echelon. But that hasn't really mattered. I mean, like the front office, like I said, made amazing additions. They've made a lot of spacing on this team. They built this team to be able to maximize the players they have, and they've done so. When it comes to the playoffs, do I really see them making a lot of noise? Unfortunately, I don't. But I don't think that matters. I think this team is still really young, and that's one thing I didn't understand about all the doom and gloom about the Domantas Sabonis trade. Is like, yes, I understand Tyrese Halliburton is the youngest player out of the three, probably can be the best player down the road out of the three, but De'Aaron Fox is still a good player, an all-star caliber player, I would say, and he was not living up to his potential with Tyrese in the backcourt. And Domantas Sabonis is also an all-star caliber player who seems to be living up to his fullest potential now that he's in Sacramento. So I do really think the trade worked. And I think too, Domantas Sabonis is only 26. De'Aaron Fox is 25. Outside of Harrison Barnes, everyone on this core is pretty much 26 or younger. They just drafted Keegan Murray, who definitely looks like he can be a valuable piece. Do I think he can be the third offensive option on a playoff team? I don't know yet. I think he needs to really improve as a passer. One thing I found very concerning looking at him and just kind of watching him play is he does not play make. He's averaging 0.3 assists, and he has a 3.5 assist percentage, which is worse than the second round pick for the Toronto Raptors, Christian Koloko, who was a center who picked up basketball at 16 years old, So I think that is concerning for Keegan Murray, but everything else, I like the touch, I like the shooting, I like the size on defense, and I really like how this team, they got a bunch of young high-level role players, they got their 2 stars, they got their rookie who's been showing a lot of promise, and now they're really building up with this team and what this team can do in the future. I looked at their playoff matchups. I don't really think they have any favorable playoff matchups. I think the only one they really match up favorably with is the Dallas Mavericks. I think they have about 40% chance of winning that series, especially if the Mavs don't hit their shots. But everyone else, I think, either has too much talent or are just simply the better teams. If they were to match up with a team like the Portland Trailblazers, the Lakers come in the play-in, if they fall out of the top 6 seed, I do think they can beat those teams, but it's always difficult because it's a one-game series and Damian Lillard can go off or LeBron and AD can go off. But I just wanted to talk about the Sacramento Kings. I've been a really big fan of them. I've watched every game that I can this year for them. I'm really, really excited to see where this team can go on the offensive or in basketball. And yeah, thank you for watching the video, and take it easy.